Hello and welcome to my workshop session. And let's start this. All right, here are all the amazing sponsors of CollabSphere. And so let me tell you a little about myself. My name is Lance Zakin. I'm a senior admin and developer at NotesMail, a HTML business partner with experience spanning over 20 years. I worked on dozens of Domino projects across many industries. Something interesting I did, a couple of my customers were using this OpenNTF Domino CMS tool. It happened to stop working for some reason with Domino 10.01 FP4. There was a specific reason why, and I actually fixed that and uploaded a new version. I've written several articles in the past for Lotus Advisor and NetConnect UK Groupware magazine, as well as contributing to tech tips and blogs and social media. All my extensive experience has actually been one of the primary driving forces for helping implement some of these crucial Notes tools, which help admins and developers around the world. I just mentioned when, I've been doing this for a long time. So my first version of Notes was 3.0C. So now that you know who I am, let's move ahead. Okay, all right, so first topic I'd like to discuss is three topics. The first one's add CAPTCHA to a Domino web form. Now at this, you can see a little screenshot of what it looks like above. And I just want to, for you, those of you who don't know, CAPTCHA, it's an acronym for Completely Automated Public Turing Test to tell computers and humans apart. It's a type of challenge response test used in computing to determine whether or not the user is human. So it's a good reason to use that acronym. The term was coined in 2003. The most common type of CAPTCHA displayed as version 1.0 was first invented in 1997. So it goes far back than you might think, by two groups working in parallel. This form of CAPTCHA requires someone to correctly evaluate and enter a sequence of letters or numbers perceptible in a distorted image displayed on their screen. Now, the one that I'm going to be working with today, it's not really distorted. I mean, unless you count that little 1, 2, 3, Lotus 1, 2, 3 symbol as distorted, but it's good for basic purposes if you don't want to have these hackers sending these robot form submissions to your website. Okay. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the developer steps. Some have some code included. It might look a little complicated. It's not that bad because if you're implementing this on your Domino website, you're just going to be doing some copying and pasting and changing the date field that you're using on your Domino form. Once I go through these steps, I'll show you, open up Designer Live and show you how it was implemented so you could see. So basically, if you have your Domino web form, you type a message at the bottom of the form, of your submission form, where you'd like the security image to appear. For example, I like to use, are you a robot? CAPTCHA, enter image text or refresh page. Some of these end users, they won't know if you say, once you say, are you a robot? They get the idea. So you're going to create, step 2 is create a field with type attributes text computed when composed and allow multiple values. So you're going to copy the code as seen in the below link. There was too much code to put on this presentation, but it's in the link below. You copy that code to the clipboard, and the two variables at the top of the code can be changed to specify the minimum and maximum image to display. So a lot of times I like to display maybe like 5 images. Some of my customers get upset. They only want 3 because the users don't have patience. And if you want to get really advanced, you could go up to 27. Step 3, create a user input field below the field in step 2 with type attributes text and editable. Step 4, create a field below field in step 3 with type attributes number, editable, and allow multiple values. And you're going to add the HTML other tag as seen below in the HTML tab in the field property box. Now, I just discovered this. I was testing this before this demo, and I was playing around with something and it didn't work, but I realized if you're rendering pass-through HTML, you have to do something slightly different. or actually put in the HTML code itself, hidden HTML code. But I'll just read this again. So you're gonna put this, add the HTML other tag as seen below in the HTML tab in the field property box. But if your form has render pass-through HTML enabled, the image on the bottom left, that technique won't work. So then you're going to add the code to the help description, which is old school, by the way, instead as seen below in brackets on the bottom right. And you're going to add the default field to that field. Okay, I'll show you that in a second. The demo that I'm going to show you has been using the one on the bottom right. Okay, step 5, create a field adjacent to the field in step 4 with type attributes number, editable, and allow multi-values. The same, add the HTML other tag just as in the previous step, same exact thing. And the code that you're going to copy paste is in that link below. There. Okay. Step 6, create or edit the reserved field $return. I assume everyone knows about that field. At the bottom of the web form with type attributes text computed for display. That's what I usually do. And you're going to copy paste the formula code in the example below as the field value and modify the code as necessary, depending on your application. You could modify the code, you'll see in a second. The Boolean expression in green below determines if the web user typed the correct security image. If the Boolean expression is true, then the user typed the correct security image and the save options reserved field value must be assigned 1 as seen below. And I assume everyone knows the reserved field save options. So here's the example that I'm talking about that you could copy and paste this into your $return field. And then in green, that's the Boolean expression which decides whether the user typed it in successfully or not. And it says there's a web link there. If you want to copy and paste this text in this example, you click the link below and copy and paste from step 6 in that link. So step 7, okay, we're getting to the actual code in Designer. Create the reserved field name save options adjacent to the field in step 6 with type attributes text computed for composed. Hide the field from web browsers. I assume you guys know how to click the hide one field and then click hide from web browsers and add the following as the field value 0 in quotes. All right, so let's take a look at a website below in Domino's Designer using the native Domino CAPTCHA steps above. I say native, I mean, it's the code. I actually invented this code many years ago and it, progressed with years and different changes and things, but now it's pretty much finalized.
My wife?
Just a reminder to remute your mics. And now I'm going to stop sharing and try to share that website to show you. Let's see. Hold on one second. We're going to share. First, we're going to share the website. Okay. This is a website. This is actually a live website, believe it or not, but click just a small, very small customer getting a haircut, obviously. It was more like for a demo for us. And that's perfect for CollabSphere. Click contact us. I happen to live in New York, so I was testing this earlier, so the cookie saved some values here. So as you can see, it says, what's your name? You type in your name. This could be a form, any form that you have depending on your application. This happens just to be a simple contact form. Your message, live long and prosper. This field was for some type of web charting I was going to do, but I wasn't able to get to it, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, your message, live long and prosper. And then over here is the important part. Are you a robot? CAPTCHA. So over here, you would enter in code. I'm going to enter a wrong code purposely, click submit. And what happened, it redisplayed this page and refreshed the CAPTCHA code. So, oh, poor Rich, he's going to get an email. Oh, well. Okay, so anyway, CXX, and I'm going to click submit. And there you go, it submitted it. So if you had, I'm going back to that for a second, if you had a robot hacking program coming out to try and do submit forms and all this, which was the reason I made this in the first place. One day I woke up, there was thousands of records in my Domino database. And this actually helped it. It's very basic. It'll get the job done. If you have like a nation rogue state that's trying to get to you, they're probably going to figure it out somehow. But you get the idea. It's going to help in most cases. It's going to be pretty much effective. So let me go to the code now. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing again. Make sure I have Designer open. Yes, I do. And I'm going to share Domino Designer. If I could find it here. It's open, right? Oh, here it is. Should be it. Okay, so everyone should be able to see the Domino Designer. Let me take a step back. There's a form here. This is the one that's live on the website. It's a Domino form. Now, you might be looking at this code. It's basically, as I mentioned earlier, this one happens to be render pass-through HTML in Notes in this form. The reason for that is I actually created this website in WordPress and just exported all the WordPress HTML files and kind of ported them over one by one, which worked out nice. You got a nice little front end that looks pretty with very little effort. But then you want to integrate with Domino and do some fancy things. Come down to the bottom. Okay. As you can see here, some of the fields, your email address, your subject, your message. Now that all those steps I read about, you could see here. Here's step one, I guess, was one of these fields. You enter this field, text computed when composed, allow multi-values. The next field here, this is where they actually input the image characters. Text editable. Okay. The first one, by the way, it's hide. No, this one's not hide when, sorry. Hide when reading, okay. The next field, that was all in the documented steps. This is a number field, editable, allow multiple values. In the help description in brackets, you have type equals hidden. It's a hidden HTML field. If this was not a rendered pass-through form, you could actually put it in the other spot here. But for some reason, it doesn't work unless you put it here. So that was documented in the slide, just in case. And I learned that today. And over here, another field, a number, multi-value, editable, same thing, hidden as well. So those are basically the 4 fields that you need. And are you a robot, whatever you want them to, you could display whatever you want for the end user on the web form. And then at the bottom, it also has to use the $ return and save options field. So as you know, save options is the reserved Domino field, text computed when composed, 0. $ return, text computed for display. And over here is the code that you saw on the previous slide. And if everything is legit, Boolean is true, it'll actually load up the main website page. If it's false, it'll actually load the same contact form again. And there's some cookies that are saved that remembers. I mean, this isn't about a slide about cookies, but if you know, there's an internal field called http_cookie and a whole bunch of other ways to save the cookies. That's another topic. So JavaScript. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm glad I clicked this. JavaScript is also a part of this. Your field validation. And basically, you don't want them to submit the form unless they completed the "Are you a robot?" which is right here. And if everything is legit again, it'll submit it. Here's some cookie stuff. Encode URI and etc. Whatever. So that's what it looks like on the design end. So you have to work with the save options field, $ return. Make sure you have a JavaScript validation for that robot field. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. That's it. Some of this code, might as well show you this while we're here. The image code is here. It says, do not change code below. Why? Because it won't work. As you can see, remember I said it supports 27 images. That's the U20, that's this line here. You could add more. I didn't think people need more than 27. I think that would annoy your end users. And the images displayed are actually native in Domino, so it's pretty slick. It's using the icons that Domino has built into it for many years. If HCL changed the icon for like, let's the number 1 or 2, it'll actually dynamically show the new icon that HCL actually released in a new version of Domino. And so the code is here. And let's see, any more code in this? And some in the answer has some more code here as well. And again, this is in the link to this code is in the slideshow. You could get to it. And let me just scroll down. It's doing some fancy things with ASCII codes, trying to trick these robot hackers. My idea was to use these ASCII codes. And if you view the source code of the web form, you're not going to be able to figure it out. But you want to know something? If a hacker watched this video, guess what? They just figured it out. So hopefully they don't. All right. So let's close this. Okay. So we figured out, we completed the CAPTCHA. Let me stop sharing. Hold on. I'm going to share the PowerPoint presentation again for the next topic. Share. Here we go. From current slide. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go on to the next topic. I'm sure you guys might have some questions, might not. You could include them in the chat window if you want. I don't know if I'll have time to get to them. Otherwise, you could contact me directly on the company website. You could just open up a service ticket and attention to my name, Lance Zakin. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. This is interesting. I think everyone's probably familiar with date pickers and they know how to find them, but this one's a special one for Domino. Let me talk about it. So this is to add date picker to a Domino web form. So if you guys don't know, a date picker is a graphical user interface widget which allows the user to select a date from a calendar. The typical practice is to provide a text box field which, when clicked upon to enter a date, pops up a calendar next to or below the field, allowing the user to populate the field with an appropriate date, or provides a text box with an icon of a calendar, such that when the icon is clicked on, the calendar appears or shows the calendar widget directly in line. And most developers love the little calendar icon. So I'm going to say this: Domino does not natively support a web date picker unless you use XPages. There is a way to do it in XPages. Some people, might not have gotten into XPages yet, which is, one reason you might be watching this demo. But most likely you have seen this XPages type of widget feature when using iNotes versus mail calendar, as seen on the bottom right. So if you look at the bottom right, this example happens to be iNotes, and I just did that snapshot today, and that's most likely done in XPages. I'm saying most likely, it might not be. So if you do not plan to use XPages in your web app, then you could use free jQuery and CSS date pickers available on the web. I think a lot of people know about those already. However, in this demo, I'll be showing how to use a JavaScript web date picker, which has something very unique as seen below. It has pop-up reminders with responsive web design, multilingual support, and international date validation. And yes, I'm a Star Trek fan, as you can see. And I have a signed photograph of Will Shatner and Spock in, I think, Star Trek 4. And I'm just mentioning, I think, so now I have the oldest man in space, Will Shatner. I have a signed autograph, which is interesting. I could show you guys that happy hour maybe later. Okay, so there's the date picker as seen on the bottom left. And you can see something interesting that you don't normally see, like in a date picker when you're making like an airline reservation. It says 04, which means the date, July 4th. And then it has something going on there. It happens to be July 4th, a US holiday. And if you click that drop down, you'd see all the related holidays or special events in your company that are in that calendar. So let's say you have a web form or application and you're telling the user has to pick a date, but you don't want them to pick a date when your company has a holiday or some special event, like a picnic or something. It'll actually do a little alert pop-up and tell them that. So it'll just let them know hey, are you sure you want to pick that date for this web application, for this web form? Because that's the company picnic. And that's kind of the reasoning behind why I developed this. So let me go to the next one. So now this is the part that's interesting. So before these, I'm going to show you these instructions. And before these instructions, you actually have to download a tool called Web Date Picker for Notes. It's at that link below. Once you have that tool, you could follow these steps. It's not a free tool, but you could see, you could use it and plug it in and see a demo and see if it works in your environment and for your application. And if that feature, that unique feature I just mentioned, is something you desperately need or have been missing for years, then this is for you. And recently there was a law firm in Germany, and they had that exact case. They needed that. And they were so happy that it's a multilingual. So when they configured it, they said they said this is a German application, and the whole calendar switched to German. All right. So note, this is a note. If your custom web application allows anonymous access, the minimum ACL anonymous rights is reader plus write public documents in the Web Date Picker app. Okay. So 1. Configure Domino server document field default regional locale with value server locale by clicking Internet Protocol tabs, Domino web engine, web user interface, then restart the HTTP Domino task. Repeat this step if the web applications on multiple servers. Tell HTTP restart. It's something just to communicate with your Domino admin. I mean, if you want this app, if you want this tool to work fully with all its bells and whistles, it also has date validation JavaScript called isNotesDate JavaScript function. Then you're gonna have to make sure step 1 is working properly. 2, if your web application has access on multiple web servers, then create a replica copy of the Web Date Picker database on each server. Create all replicas using file name datepicker.nsf. Otherwise, references to the file name in the code will need to be edited. So it's not. We recommend to use that to make your life happier. But if for some reason you can't use that, you could change the file name, but you have to change it in the code as well. 3, and after these steps, I'm going to show you, again, Domino Designer. I'm going to show you a real life example and the code and everything. So I know I'm going through these steps and it's hard to picture it maybe, but once I'm done with the steps, you'll see what I mean. Step 3, calendar web link. Create a computed for display text field named, for example, DSP date picker adjacent to your editable time date data type field that you already have on your Domino web form. Copy paste the code below into the field formula and edit the temporary variable value as commented in the code. And B, copy paste the JavaScript code below into the JS header object of your web form. Okay. All right, hang tight. I know there's some code on there. So this code can be copy and pasted. Once you download the tool, you could copy and paste the code from the help screen. So here's the code for the first, the date picker, which is going to just display a little calendar icon next to your date field. That's what the code in the first paragraph does. And the code in the second, and then the second in the JS header, that's kind of more of like the responsive design, specifically looking for Android and any iOS. It'll be responsive for those operating systems specifically, and web clients and all browsers, etc. It works on all web browsers, by the way. Tested on Firefox, Chrome, Safari, etc. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay. Optional. Restrict manual data entry to your field. This is something you probably, well, you should know how to do that, but just in case, in this specific example, I quickly just made the length 1, just so if the user starts typing, they can't type more than 1 character. But I'm sure that there's definitely other ways that you could restrict typing into a field, of course. That was just one example. Because when you click the image, the little image pop-up, when the date picker pops up and you select the date, it'll populate right into that field. And optional number step 5, If your date time field's required, you should copy paste the code below. This is just an example into your JavaScript validation function, which you should probably already have. But just in case, look below and you'll see in blue, that's your field, your custom field on your web application. In this example, it's DAT date, but in your application, it'll be whatever it is. It could be anything. And you would just change that. That's all you have to do. Let's go on to the next slide.
Clean your room.
Remember to mute your mics, everyone. Okay, so
Bottles and trash.
developer instruction 2, this is the web date validation is no date JavaScript function. Now, what this does is it allows you to do lots of different comparisons on the date field in your form. And if that's the case, you would put this code into your HTML head content object as seen below. Again, in blue, that's the field of the web date picker tool. The file name is datepicker.nsf. You could change it if you want. Step 2 here, date field validation, copy paste the JavaScript code below into the JS header object. The example below is to see if the user entered a valid date in month, date, year. Now, this tool supports international dates, so you'll see in a second what I mean. So over here, here's this code that's in your JS header object, and it gives you the parameters for isNoteDate. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. It tells you in the comments here what they do. I mean, if you have, you don't, this whole thing is optional, but if you want to use it, you can. Well, if you're not in the US and you don't do month, day, year, you're going to have to use this because you'll set num_style to, you can see it says MDY, DMY, and YMD, depending on your country and the dates. This is specifically related to your Domino server operating system date and time on there and how it's configured. So if your server is in Germany and it's configured for German date and stuff, you'd have to pick the appropriate date and time here. Same thing with the backslash, dash, and period. You'd pick what your server region, date region is set to. Date span and date compare. That's some other options you could do. You could compare the date to see if it's equal. You could ignore. You could do is less equal than today, is greater than today. There's another date comparison you could ignore. You could return the data type value to the JavaScript or whatever you want to do with it. Just some extra features just in case you want to get advanced. And then you see again in blue below is the Boolean, says if not at isNoteDate text date, that's your custom date field, comma 111. Those are all the parameters mentioned above. Then it's going to pop up an alert. You could say whatever you want. I happen to say unable to interpret time or date, which is what the Notes client usually does, by the way. Uses that same wording on the English side. Okay, let's see. Sorry. So now I'm actually going to show you a real life application with this and use Domino Designer to show you what it looks like. So let me stop the share. How's the time doing? Okay, we got 15 minutes. Stop the share. I'm going to share. Where is this? Make sure this is loaded up here. Okay. Okay, share. This one. This one. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you all see this screen. Just a quick little simple internal thing that we use for timesheets. And it's a timesheet application. Okay, so as you can see, there's a field. Let's say this is your custom application for your company. You have a field here and the date field here. It's not letting me type more than one character. And then you see this. There's a little calendar icon. And then it has a little pop-up date picker. I'm going to click that. What happens, it pops up. It's a JavaScript window that pops up, so it's not right on top of the field. But if you lost it for some reason, if the user lost it and click this again, you know, it's on focus, it'll come back. And I'm going to make this a little bigger. if you do the drop down, it shows you a few, in this month, what are the holidays? The 10th is this guy's birthday, Joe. The 21st is CollabSphere 2021. 31st is Halloween in the US. So let's just pick some days. Friday, I'm going to pick the first of the month. It populates it. I'm going to pick the 21st today. What's going to happen? And over here it says CollabSphere 2021. It's just reminding you of this. And you can click enter or just hit OK. Okay. Obviously, in your code, you can make this window as big as you want. I just made this one small because this is an internal application we don't care about too much. But inside your code, in the JavaScript, when you open the window, you can make it this big. It's very easy to do that. Quick change. And you could go to the next month, November. You see some holidays there, Veterans Day. December, you'll probably see Christmas in the US, etc. You could go back a year, December 20th. Let's go back to October of 2020. That's last year. We had CollabSphere last year. We didn't put it in the calendar. And this year, we did. All right, so that's basically what the app looks like, the user interface. You could control the size of the window that pops up in your JavaScript very easily. Okay, so now, I want to show you the tool. So let me stop sharing. I want to show you how the dates get in there and how it could import any holiday dates from your Domino directory and from your calendar and personal address book, etc. So I'm going to click share. Let me make sure I have the notes app open. Hold on. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share that screen, notes, right here, share. You should be seeing the notes client now. This is just a web date picker tool. At the beginning of my slideshow on this topic, it said to download this tool. So here's the tool. You can collapse all. CollabSphere. This is something I entered today. Edit mode. You just pick the date. This is the notes client, so it has a date picker built in. The date, the message that you want the end user to see, and this is for your purposes only in the tool, the category. So you can see CollabSphere. This one has buddies. This one's an HCL Domino picnic. I categorize it as HCL holiday. This one is Domino directory holidays, which was imported from your Domino directory to make your life easier. So I'll show you the import in a second. The install, the help information is right here, which what I was mentioning, you could copy and paste all of the code. It's all right in the tool, so you don't have to worry about that. It's here. It's all here. Similar instructions from the slideshow, just a little bit more compact. And here's the import export. So import here, if you have a comma delimited file in this exact, like Excel, in the exact columns, date, message, category, you could import it using a CSV right in here. It says column 1 must be a date in the date format of the native notes client. So if your native notes client is English, like this one, the column has to be month, date, year. So if you have a different client like German, French, you get the picture. It's got to be the other way around, the other format. I'm going to click no. Import contacts, birthdays, and anniversaries from your personal address book. That's kind of obvious. Oh, you could select them and import them. Let me just click cancel. This one, import Domino directory holidays. So if you happen to live in Canada, you could select all the ones you want to import into the system. I'm not going to do it now live. If you happen to live in France, you'll see some French holidays here. And Germany, some German holidays here. You could select them. Let's see how time is. Okay. You could select them, etc. So it has this is your Domino directory. There's a view that's called under miscellaneous holidays, I believe. It's in there. And if you wanted to, you could actually go into your Domino directory and add more holidays there and then import it from here. They'll display after you add them to the Domino directory. You could also skip that whole process and just click create calendar entry and create your own holiday one by one. So this is a nice nifty feature. suck up or import all of your holidays from a personal Excel file. In this case, you got to save the Excel as CSV. From your contacts, your personal contact address book, or from the Domino directory. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back to the slide. Show, share. Okay, we're back to the slideshow. Now, okay, so the next topic, we don't have too much time, is we basically have 8 minutes, it seems, which is somewhat good news for me because when I started doing this presentation last night, yes, I crunched it last second. I did not finish the third topic, which is many of you guys might be waiting for this topic. I don't know, but generate charts for data in Domino web views. What I did get to do is show you a little requirements and some screenshots from what I was going to show you. You see where it says blah, blah, blah. I didn't finish. I wouldn't have had time for it really anyway. Although this is a workshop, I think I could go longer. But anyway, this is again a tool. And if you download the tool from this website, you could, test it in your environment again and see how it works with your custom web application and see if it's a fit for you. This part's interesting, the requirement. So the Domino database, which contains the data, your custom application, the Domino database or replica must reside on a Windows Domino server with an Excel installation. So if you're running Linux and your Domino web apps on Linux, unfortunately, on this particular tool, you're going to have to, you're going to have to build a Windows Domino server unless you have one around already, and just create a replica over there and somehow have a different different website for that replica on that server to access it, which is fairly easy, if you have that server there already and you're running HTTP and all that. So here's the requirement. So the first visible view column in your notes view containing the data should be categorized and can display any data type. Additional view columns should display a number data type and use a totals attribute. Now, you could note categorization and the totals attribute are recommended but not required, depending on what you want to do. But most cases, it's very easy and fast. If you have it categorized and the total attribute, the reports will generate very quickly for the end user on the web client. And it uses the Excel engine for the graphing. So here's a little chart on the bottom right-hand corner. When they click a link in your web application that says, you could have a button that says generate chart. It's going to call this website above. It's a little cutoff. It'll be in this tool and chart web lookup ? Open form. This will pop up and pull in all the data immediately from your custom notes view in your web app. And if you happen to have categories, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you have 100 categories, it'll pull all of them in. And this one we are more interested in, want to know in October, in 2021, in October, what were all the computer expenses for your organization? You could click that. If you're only interested in that, you could click that and it'll generate a chart. And if in this case, we were only interested in utilities, telephone and electricity, you'd click OK, and then it would generate a chart. I'm going to go to the next slide. This is what the end user would see. Their web browser client would say, whatever it's set to, this happens to be Firefox, by the way, on this one, just to show you that it works with all browsers, not just Edge, IE, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It'll open here and the user would click open or whatever. And then the chart, in this case, this is what the chart would look like. Once it's open and Excel launches on their side, actually, they have to have Excel, which isn't totally required because the tool itself will let you convert it to PDF or something, or maybe print an image in black and white. There's some other options, but I think most users have Excel installed on their desktop. So if that's the case, it's very easy. It opens in Excel, and here it is. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish this demo, but you could go back, you could take a look at the tool, you could play with it, and it has a lot of different options. Like I mentioned, you could It could automatically print to a printer. If it's connected to if your server is connected to a printer, it could automatically print out there. Could create a PDF file and automatically print out and automatically be sent to the user in PDF format. I think it includes instructions on how to make sure you have a print driver on the server, which I think comes with Excel, if I remember. Or you could put a custom one on there, but you have to make it the default printer on the Windows server if you have a custom print driver. So that's kind of the options if you don't want to use Excel. But Excel must be used in the tool. It must be on a Windows server. So I think that's it. Yes, it is. These lovely sponsors, thanks for sponsoring this event. And let me go back to the beginning. I think we have a couple of minutes if anyone has any questions. Let me stop sharing. Here we go. Okay. Chat. Here we go. Chat. Unfortunately, the pop-up is not showing. Sorry, I don't see the calendar. Oh, so during this demo, okay. Someone said they didn't see the pop-up. I understand. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, there was a pop-up, and I didn't realize Zoom. I guess you had to share that as well. So yeah, it works fine as seen in the slide. It looks like the pop-up there. And if you download the tool, you could play around with it. One thing I mentioned in the custom app we had, the pop-up was a little small. It didn't show the complete holiday, which was very long. This the event on a day, the holiday was long and it was a little cut off by the window, but you could control that in JavaScript to make the window wider. So I think that's it. I'm not sure. I don't know if people are blocked from talking. I'm not like the Zoom expert. I seem to be the sharing expert, but not with that part. So I guess that's it. We've ran out of time. Basically, it's almost 3:45. I'll just wait for the chat window. If anyone has any last questions, you could just send it to me and I could answer it if you have any more questions. Okay, I don't think I see any questions. All right, otherwise, thank you all for joining. I appreciate your time. I know we had 3 topics to go over, lots of different code and slideshows, but luckily these slides are saved in the video, so you could always review it at your leisure. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day. If you come to the happy hour, I'll see you later there. Ciao. Live long and prosper.